What if everything you experienced was an illusion, and you could rewrite your fate? Yes, John, the last bastion against a demonic legion, sacrifices himself and his life fades into a sea of power. But with the last explosion of light, he finds himself waking up in an unfamiliar room years before. Alert and incredulous, he wonders how it is possible to be alive in a world that should be in ruins. Seeing the youthfulness and innocence around him, determination reignites within him. However, a bizarre system of statistics, incredible and terrifying at the same time, appears before his eyes. It's as if he had been thrown into a video game with a dark future awaiting him. The only question echoing is, will he manage this time to prevent the gates of hell from opening? Hello, I'm Shin. Welcome to the Best Manhwa channel. I hope you enjoy the video. Go ahead and smash that like button and share this video. And without further ado, let's get to the video. On May 16th, 2077, a dark event was unfolding. The demons attacked the last fortress of humans. Humanity was in freefall, with the city consumed by flames and ruins. A true hell. A lone man finds himself trapped in a scene of despair, impaled, a tragic witness to that final battle. This man is Sigum, a lightning assassin of class SSS. Even though gravely injured, with blood streaming down his face, his gaze is one of pure determination. The scene takes us 7 years back, when a legion of demon kings abruptly descended upon the world. Among them was the demon king Lan, looming menacingly over the ruins of the city. These dark beings led an army of horrors, exterminating humanity with their overwhelming power. With a cruel smile, the demon king mocks, "And you dare to consider yourself the last hope of humans? How pathetic. Your race is nothing but a bunch of useless trash." Then, Lan extends his hand, gathering a sinister energy. "I will suck every last drop of your remaining vital essence," he declares as his demonic power swells, guided by a sinister laugh. "Order it. Become my food. Transform into my power." Bolts of red energy emerge from this chim, being forcefully extracted by the demon king. Shinchin's life force is being drained, yet he refuses to surrender. The memories of his younger sister and his comrades falling feed his resistance. His master's face flashes in his mind, reminding him of each one he has lost. Then, he stubbornly grits his teeth, and the crackling energy envelops him. With a roar of fury, he fills himself. "If it's for them, I will take you with me, insect." He unleashes his final ability, the terminal light, a golden explosion radiating from his body. The demon king, caught off guard, is engulfed by a blinding wave of light. "What is happening? My brother, why can't I move?" The body of this Shinchin begins to crack under that immeasurable pressure of his own power. In his last moments, memories flicker in his mind. He caring for his injured sister, another glimpse of his master, a figure of strength and protection, and finally, a photo of his parents. "Mom and Dad, we will be together soon." Unfortunately, what he feels is the pain of weakness. In his final lament, he wonders, what if I were just a bit stronger? As his life fades away, the demon king screams in horror, "You are merely an inferior race. How could you have defeated me, insignificant insect?" The last wish of our boy, Shigen, echoes. If only he could go back in time, before the first demon king appeared. It is then that, as his consciousness wanes, a white explosion of light bursts forth. In this way, he wouldn't have lost everything so quickly. He said, his necklace, a symbol of infinity, shatters into a sea of fragments. His last wish now emerges through the ages, closing one timeline and perhaps beginning another, if you understand me. This time, it was not Ezekiel's shadow's truck. The vision of Shigang focuses on a ceiling lamp. In an unfamiliar environment, suddenly his eyes open, a red glow revealing shock and confusion. He realizes he is lying on a bed in a simple and clean room, a stark contrast to the war scene he remembered. As he sits up, the question pounds in his mind, am I dead? No way. Could it be? His gaze wanders around the strange room, reminiscent of a ward. He leans out the window, and the disbelief intensifies. Below, a vibrant university campus, filled with students, and also with cute girls. A whirlwind of confusion floods his world. Wasn't it destroyed? How come? Where did all these people come from? Was everyone dead? He pulls back from the window, trying to process this new reality. After a while, he accepts that this is real. He has returned to his college days 10 years ago. A strange digital sound appears, catching his attention. A system window materializes before him. Every impactful word, power of gluttony, complete fusion, completed. Anxiously, he checks the date on a nearby device and confirms his suspicions. May 16th, 2057, a fateful date. That system window reaffirmed his new reality. He had gone back 10 years. A cold drop of sweat runs down his face, and the incredulity of the situation hits him hard. 3 years before the emergence of the first Demon King. Seems like your wishes have been granted, huh, kid? He remembers the future he faced. Within 3 years, the world's first king, Ira, would suggest the opening of the gates of hell and unleash the nightmare. That was the beginning beginning of the end. He had lost everything because of it. The memories of destruction and loss fueled his new determination. But now things were quite different. He had returned. He pondered while observing his hands, the vessel of his second chance. His eyes shone with a red and determined light. He just needed to defeat the first one to appear, Ira, and prevent the gates of hell from opening. This was his chance to change everything. The unknown system activated full fusion, the power of gluttony. But the question still lingered. What was that gluttony power screen? It had floated before him since the moment he awoke. He reached out to touch the blinking digital intelligence. It seemed to be malfunctioning. Then, the holographic window displayed his name alongside a series of statistics. They looked like the statistics from some crazy video game. The holographic screen appeared, revealing his name. He was called Level 1 in a list of statistics that seemed to have been taken straight out of a wacky game. Strength, speed, endurance, all marked at 100. He paused, extremely confused, wondering if those were really his current parameters. His eyes narrowed. But what is this? Trying to process the absurdity of the whole situation, in the past, gaining power meant an awakening, not this weird system on the screen before him. He realized this was something he had never seen before, a completely different concept. Reflecting on his past, he remembered that he had always fought using the powers he awakened in this new world. Only 1 in 10,000 people can awaken, obtaining classes like Fire Mage or Electric Assassin. The school he attended was the National University for Awakened Powers. Unfortunately, in his previous life, he had never been that lucky. For 4 years, he was the ugly duckling of that school, an easy target for everyone else. The extremely bitter expression formed on his face. Poor thing. He realized that was probably why he awakened in that hospital. The system screen lit up again, this time showing a distorted image of himself in the future. That image cleared up, and he saw a class card. Electric Assassin, with abilities listed as Divine Speed and Electric Blade. A flashback of his future surrounded by lightning invaded his mind. That was not the title he had in his past life. No, sir. Feeling an overwhelming power flowing within him, he realized he had inherited the powers from his previous life. He could have awakened early. That's right. Determined, he thought about testing his new abilities. The system screen displays loading class change as an area of lightning begins to form around him. But just at that second, someone enters the room, interrupting the whole scene. A young man wearing glasses and with a very nerdy vibe appears. It's Marlin, a class flower singer. He rushes in, looking relieved. "Dude, you're awake? You okay?" he shouts as he approaches Shichen. Shichen responds, "Oh, I'm fine," while realizing a crucial detail. The others shouldn't be able to see this screen, right? Marlin observes frantically, "What the hell? Your wounds are completely gone. What did you do, man? Yesterday you got your ass whooped. How did you recover so fast?" He should be the one who awakened, Shichen thinks, as he looks at Marlin with a new perspective. He remembers that the kid was his roommate back in college. A painful memory resurfaces in his mind. Even awakening at school, Marlin was at rock bottom. Poor guy, just like him. Also in his previous life, Marlin was brutally killed, but now he's right there, alive in front of him. It was as real as ever. Seeing his friend alive and well finally brings a sense of reality. Only when this happened did Shichen feel that he had truly returned. Then Marlin suddenly shakes him. Hey, it's tomorrow, brother. A classification exam. Now that you're feeling better, let's hurry up and get ready. Unaware of Shichen's change, he drags his friend out of the room. You still haven't awakened, but this is super important for graduation. Come on, brother, get excited. As they exit, they encounter a lively view of the campus under a beautiful sunset. Students are everywhere, some practicing their skills, others just relaxing, and others chatting, shooting the breeze. Life buzzes around them, people running and playing soccer. It's a calm and normal scene. As they walk, Shichen murmurs to himself, "It's been a long time since I've seen so many living people." Marlin doesn't look, confused, and asks, "What are you talking about?" Oblivious to the weight of his words, Marlin nervously suggests, "Hey man, let's take a walk around the track." But yes, Shichen is lost in his own thoughts. Observing that peaceful scene, he had already lost everything once, and that image of his future alone amidst the ruins overlays that tranquil landscape. If he does nothing, that same hopeless future may repeat itself. Our boy, determined, with a new resolve on his face, decides not to go through all of this again. He needs to come up with a quick plan and level up as soon as possible. That was the only way to awaken. Gain levels by killing monsters near a dungeon to accumulate experience. But almost all dungeons are controlled by the biggest guilds. Those who don't belong to a guild guild basically have no chance of leveling up. My friend, now if these are your stats, he questions how they compare with those of other awakened individuals and monstrosities. The government established a ranking system to differentiate power levels. It basically starts from S, A, B, C, D, and E. Most of the students at that school remain at level E all the time. Only a few talented students or those with good connections in the guilds manage to advance to D. He speculates that he might estimate what his level is based on experience from his past life. But if they were assessed, what grade would he receive, huh? Now a smirk appears on his face. This guy is satisfied. He looks at Marlon distracted and thinks, for sure, a good grade. Better than his, that I am sure of. Comparing himself to his friend too, right? He's at rock bottom. But out of nowhere, a basketball flies from somewhere and hits Marlon directly in the face. Marlon collapses, stunned and bleeding after that impact. A grim voice echoes from a nearby staircase where a group of bullies is sitting. Look if it's not Marlon! The leader of the bullies, a burly guy with a shaved head, watches them with contempt. The bullies think they are the kings of that neighborhood. While laughing, one of them turned to the boys with a mocking grin and said, "Seriously? You came to play basketball and didn't even bring a drink? Bad. A scared one wanting to please. You know, right? He was already trying to apologize. They're sorry, I'm going to buy one. He already wants to apologize and get the hell out of there. That's true, but without shine. With a cold gaze, he cut the conversation short. The blame isn't yours, dude. They are the ones who need to explain themselves. Sheen's eyes sparkled like rubies as he sent the message. The one who needs to apologize is the bully here. Memories of that Sheen began to sprout like weeds in his head. Remembrances of a dark past flooded his being, and he saw as if he were back in that school bathroom. There, in a past, a group of bullies led by none other than Gon Sheen was drowning the kid, suffocating him in the toilet. Damn, that's the height of bullying. It's violence, right, my friend? And Marlon, his friend, was there terrified, begging them to stop. But that scene only got worse. Goshen turned around, displaying a sadistic smile. He let out a gem. Why should I stop? Look, I'm just helping him get clean. Maybe the pea needed a little push to awaken its powers. A little push in the toilet, that's right. The other bullies laughed loudly, as if the kid's suffering was the biggest joke of all. Pathetic. As soon as they saw Shin-chan feeling sick, they got bored and decided to leave. But as soon as they left the room, Marlon ran to help Shin-chan, who was soaked and tearful, asking why those guys couldn't just leave him alone. And now, in the present, without Shane, he reflected on the malice. That mockery wasn't exclusive to monsters. One of the bullies asked if, like a Shane, he had said something, and here came the answer. Human malice exists, my friend. With a threatening gleam in his eyes, Gonshin began to incite the others so that a bit more fun could start for them, of course. But now he noticed a very strange detail. Shin-chan wasn't reacting as before. He was standing still. That's it. Marlon was also confused, asking what was going on with Shin-chan. And Gon-chan, in an attempt to show strength, activated his ability. Gon-chan, a level warrior, shown on his sheet but found in response. The glacial, piercing gaze of Shin-chan's red eyes then recognized who that idiot was. Gon-chan was only full of himself because he had a stronger brother, the school council president. Deep down, he was a complete nobody. The other students whispered among themselves, thinking Gon-chen would beat him up, but they were reminded that they had just been taken to the hospital, being called the weaker ones. With Chain filled with rage, he launched an attack by enveloping his hand in green energy, but contrary to everyone's expectations, Shin-chan blocked it with a single hand, stopping the attack with extreme ease. Gon-chan was in shock. What did you do? The guy was dizzy. My brother. Shin-chan sent a clear warning. From now on, stay away from us, you bastard. But enraged, Gon-chan attacked again, shouting that Shin-chan needed another lesson. Therefore, he charged again. However, the veteran Shin-chan, with experience, dodged and, in a swift movement, delivered a devastating punch to Gon-chen's face, making the hit echo throughout the school. Are you crazy? Everyone saw that, and everyone who saw was shocked as well. This was something. A girl couldn't believe what she had seen, while the others wondered if it was true that Shin-chen had actually stopped an attack from Gon-chen. Malo, on the other hand, was completely baffled, wondering if he was seeing things. After all, he was sure that Shin-chan had not awakened his powers yet. Furious and embarrassed, Gon-chan couldn't handle it. A weakling who hadn't even awakened dared to challenge him. Meanwhile, a system window appeared in front of Shin-chan. Perfect, he thought. The perfect opportunity to test this. The system began to load a class change notification. The class change was completed, and then a new status screen appeared. Lightning Assassin, with his strength and speed stats increasing enormously. My brother, your former life as a stronger warrior, was coming back. Malo, still in shock, and with his broken glasses, stammered, You have awakened powers. Absurd, my brother. Wow, Jean's transformation was on display for everyone to see. I liked it. Humiliated, poor guy. Then he activated his most powerful ability, Immortal Demon Armor. He screamed with his arm and transformed it into an enormous stone fist, ready to deliver a deadly blow. Now, Sinchin, you will taste my killing lava. But Sinchin, fast as lightning, you know, dodged Gulchin's heavy attack with supernatural agility. And before Gulchin could rise, Sinchin counterattacked with an electric punch that hit the bully square in the face. The impact, I tell you, was so brutal that Gulchin was flung away, flying around defenseless. Everyone was stunned. They couldn't believe that this guy had sent Gulchin flying with a single strike. Malon's face, captured in a tilted panel, showed a complete game. The glasses were now just a memory, you know? Gulchin, fallen and gasping on the ground, couldn't process it. Ah, that son of a gun surprised me, and the crowd wondered if it was really Shen on the scene on the ground. Goshin shouted to his thugs, asking what they were doing standing there, not moving. Some thugs, trembling and scared, could barely stammer. Sorry, boss, the guy was almost having a seizure. The reason for the fear was Shen's figure, surrounded by a dark, my friend, and striking aura too, with those eyes that glowed threateningly. Just like Shen, full of fury, jumped up and attacked again, shouting, I'm going to kill you! But Shen, still, firm, easily caught Goshin's punch again. Lightning crackled around him again, and with his fist still holding Gonshin's, he screamed in pain and frustration. With power emanating from his fist, Shinchen prepared to counterattack, and his strike shone with an intense light. With a look overflowing with disdain, he uttered 2 words that defined Gojigen's fate, but without mercy or pity. Without holding back and without chains, a rain of punches at an absurd speed that we heard. Each impact echoes like a deafening roar throughout the school. My friend with Shen completely overwhelmed and tossed into the air like a rag doll. Damn, with no chance of counterattacking against that devastating force of the lightning assassin. And finally, he shatters against the ground, creating a small crater, lying there motionless as if the battle had decided his fate once and for all. The clash comes to an end, and, like Shen, he is prostrate, finally defeated, coughing with a mouth that looks like it's menstruating, a far cry from his former pride. A heavy silence falls over the battlefield as Seichinyo, triumphant, stands there like a true conqueror. Goshin's henchmen, witnessing the outcome of that insane fight, don't think twice before turning their backs and running away in terror. Marlon, overwhelmed by a wave of emotions, kneels down, still trying to process what they just witnessed. The explosion of nervous laughter escapes his lips as tears of relief and confusion spring from his eyes. He can barely believe the stunning transformation of Shinge. Still in shock from what he saw, Marlon wonders when Senshin became so powerful. Senshin, in turn, dives into his own thoughts, calmly examining the bloodstains on his hands, reflecting on the situation. A status screen appears before him, showing his statistics and making it clear that he had reached some rather intriguing conclusions. First, he had the ability to switch to his Lightning Assassin class at any moment, just as in his previous life. And second, what he demonstrated was not pure luck. He also realizes that, although the system indicated he was at level 1, the skills he displayed were more than enough to handle a lower level awakened. It was understandable why he came across as several times stronger than a rank, even though his true rank remained a mystery. However, his strategic mind, always on alert, detects yet another problem to be solved. He looks at the unconscious body of Gocheng and, with the status screen before him, concludes that he indeed defeated him. But strangely, he notices that his statistics haven't changed one bit. Our boy didn't gain any experience, so to understand a bit and investigate that issue, he concentrates electrical energy in his hand, forming a blade of lightning that dances over his fingers as he approaches the fallen Gauchem Malon. The few spectators still dare to look at the scene and scream in horror, thinking that this Shane is going to end his life. Hey, wait a minute, brother, calm down, that's enough, the guy is already down, kill him! I didn't see, don't kill him! What are you doing? Yells Marlon, utterly desperate. Ignoring his pleas, Shane lifts Gochem by the neck and positions the shimmering blade right on his throat. He wonders aloud if the ways to gain experience would be the same as those he used in his past life, reflecting that often violence weighed heavily in the balance of power. With a flash, Sinjin makes a quick move. A thunderous impact echoes through the air, but it's not quite what everyone had in mind. In that crucial moment, a calm and persuasive female voice cuts through the tension created. Hey, you know this is a school, right? Then, a very elegant girl approaches, revealing herself as Lin Yu, the vice president of the student council. That woman, with a serene smile on her face, suggests that even though Gocham started that fight, there was no need for further punishment, right? With a chuckle, she reassures Gisen and Malone that after such a display of strength, they can rest easy against Gochem. After all, he won't be a problem anymore. With that, Gisen releases Gochem, who collapses to the ground as if he no longer has the strength, and I think he really doesn't, you know? The guy got beaten up in front of everyone, ha ha ha, are you crazy? Lin's intervention interrupts the experiment he was about to initiate. In turn, Internally, he fills with reflection that he hadn't meant to cause more harm, but that he knew if he didn't put bullies like that in their place, they wouldn't hesitate to bother them in the future. In the end, his tactic worked. The remaining bullies hide in fear, swearing not to mess with him again, still in shock. In light of how the loser proved to be stronger than they imagined, they are filled only with comments. Let's go. Faced with this, Marlon, dazed, stutters. I don't even know what that guy said. Dude, he runs to catch up with him as they walk away. Lei watches the scene with a sly smile, repeating to himself that the words of bullies come from the weakest losers. She clearly notices something that piques her curiosity. The scene then shifts to that night. Already in the male dormitory, there is Milan in a frenzy trying to convince his roommates, "Why don't you believe me? Shin-chan really awakened." And that's not all. He's a killer with a super powerful lightning. Meanwhile, his friends, Chiansu and Chianyu, dude, just switch the juice and completely ignore him. That hysteria. Malin, not content to be in the fight with exaggerated gestures. Damn! Oh, he defeated Golchin and gave him a beating. You have to see. Oh, and then the guy fell into the crater. Then he stopped the guys. Punch, are you crazy? It was insane. Now no one dares even to look at us. Tired of the incessant yelling, Ciansu, an E-level fire mage, mocks him. A lightning killer, you say? That pathetic loser? Oh, don't make me laugh. Let's see in the final ranking exam who really runs things around here. With a dose of skepticism, Ciansu adds, with much disdain, "Where is Segan now?" Malon, still shaking with excitement, replies that he thinks Segan said he was going out for a run. That explosion of disbelief from Chiansu is palpable, you know? As he poked Malin on the head with irony. If he's so strong, why the hell does he need to run? I think he's pathetic, that's for sure. Since when do awakened ones need to exercise? Does that make any sense, my brother? The other classmate, Chian Yu, an E-level flower singer, as I mentioned before, dryly comments from his computer that Milan seems to have taken a nice hit to the head, while Cian just shakes his head in agreement. Cian continues, convincing everyone of how ridiculous this talk was, explaining that there's a reason why the four were assigned to that dormitory. Your terrible exam results. This guy had himself declared the dorm leader because he was the fourth worst. Wow, this guy is bad, man. He already warns, I'm the only combat class here, a fire mage. The others are just support singers. Marlon can only listen, defeated, while Ciansu declares that this is a cold, hard fact, finishing it off equally arrogantly. There's no way a pathetic loser like Chan can awaken as a lightning assassin. No chance. I, on the other hand, feel like I'm getting stronger every day and maybe have a shot at the elite clubs. He, puffing up his muscles, concludes that the final ranking evaluation the next day will decide everything and settle this pathetic discussion once and for all. Then, the scene abruptly shifts to a ranking training cavern, where several subordinates wait in front of a flaming energy portal. From there, a powerful figure emerges from the blinding light of the portal. His silhouette stands out, and his aura, well, is undeniable. Authority in person. It's Gunting, the president of the student council, an extremely elegant man with silver hair and a commanding presence. He is Ganchin's older brother. Then, with a wave of his hand, Gunting dismisses his subordinates, who respectfully bow before him. Gunting said a straightforward line, half serious. Training is over for today. At that moment, his gaze was icy, calculating, as if he were surveying everything from above, those golden eyes watching every movement around him, and as if he were in a very complicated game of chess. Later, he spotted his younger brother, Ganshan, who was waiting there. "What are you still doing here?" he asked, noticing the stripes on his brother's body, which looked more like torture than recovery. "Oh, come on!" With anger boiling over, he couldn't hold back and spoke his mind. "Brother, if you don't do something about it, I won't be able to sleep tonight. That guy humiliated me in front of everyone. He knocked me out in front of everybody. Everyone saw me getting beaten."
You know? He clearly is. I have the utmost respect for you, my brother. My little brother. Oh, I'm about to become a man. Man, Golding listened to those words calmly, as if he were hearing a soothing song, you know? And instead of getting upset, he simply said in a dark and controlling tone, "I know." It was then that, with that gaze that almost freezes, Golding promised his brother that he would handle that situation. He had his own plans and was going to set them in motion.
In another corner, in a chic environment, Golding met Lin Yu Sinan. He quickly asked her how she would deal with that mess, and she, with impressive calmness, remarked that her brother had only gotten beaten by someone stronger. Ting, thoughtful, reflected on the guy's strength. But is this guy really as strong as they say? Lin Yu, with that mischievous smile, brought Golding back to the reality of school. Look, you know there are less than 10 students in that Class D school, right? That he himself had already recruited for his club. She also emphasized that the majority of average students didn't have the same chances of facing the beasts that he did, and that those mediocre awakens wouldn't be able to strengthen themselves. Her message was clear. In the current system, no one would be able to keep up with Golding and his select group. But in the midst of that discussion, the scene cut to a solitary image of Sei-chan, who was running like crazy under a torrential downpour. He was pushing himself to the limit. The guy is tough, you know? Carrying a load of 150 kilograms for 20 kilometers, my friend. If it weren't anime, I would say this is a lie, man. Fisherman's tale. The guy knew that the potential of an awakened one depended on their own physical strength. Only a well-structured body could unleash the true power of a class. The basics of training were the key, that's for sure, you know? As the raindrops fell on his skin, gosh, right? He thought that even with all this torture, it still wasn't enough. At that moment, his mind wandered to a future he had already lived in, the glorious year of 2006. The Demon King Ira had emerged from a mass grave, leaving a trail of destruction, eliminating countless humans in the blink of an eye on that fateful day. Poor thing, his only family, his little sister, had been killed by Ira. He remembered holding her lifeless body in the rain, a torment that haunted our boy. It was Ira who opened the gates of hell, allowing the invasion of the other demon kings and turning the human realm into complete chaos. Back in the present, Jian's eyes shone with determination once again, hardened by the pain of the past. He had a clear goal and knew it was crucial to end that Ira. He was aware of the timeline. Ira was the spark of the apocalypse and only had 3 years left before his return. He was conscious that Ira was growing stronger right now, so he needed to accelerate his own growth as well. Suddenly, a buzz from his cell phone broke his dark thoughts, forcing him to collect himself. He pulled the device from his pocket, and the screen glowed through the darkness of the storm. Wow, what a dramatic scene. The guy pulled the cell phone from his pocket. It was an incoming call, making his heart race. On the screen, her name glowed. It was his sister. She was returning the call. With trembling hands and a tight chest, he answered, putting on an earpiece. His sister's lively voice flooded his ears. "Hi, my brother. Why did you call me so many times? I was competing and my phone died," she said, full of energy. She also mentioned that if she won that competition, she would finally be able to pay the overdue rent. While listening to her, unknowingly, he remembered how many times, in that devastated future, he had pleaded with the heavens for a second chance. After his sister broke his train of thought, asking why he was so quiet, with a forced smile and tears streaming down his face, he spoke softly. With the weight in his heart, he made a silent promise to risk everything, even if it meant descending into hell. "It's just that I haven't heard your voice in so long," he said, overwhelmed by emotions. Yes, there in his torment. He let out a laugh. "What are you talking about? We talked 2 days ago. I'll see you as soon as the competition is over. You stay in expectation, you know? Bye." So quickly, the call disconnected and was filled with rain. The deeper motivation resurfaced. Then he remembered that now everything truly started again. With a determined shout, he prepared to face 3 more laps. He knew he needed to strengthen himself quickly to protect everything he loved. Finally, he returned to the dormitory, where everyone was asleep. But 8 hours had passed since he returned to this era. During his shower, he started feeling like he was adjusting to this new body. His physical stats were still low, but the youth of his body promised much. Also, with an open mind and free from ties, he prepared for the next challenge. But there was still a more urgent problem that needed to be solved. Sitting on his bed, Shin-chan pondered the dilemma. If he wanted to evolve, he had to dive into a den of demons, but the guides controlled everything. Unless this guy was part of the elite, there was hardly a chance to strengthen himself. He wondered how he would track the monsters, and still thought about the mystery consuming that gluttony power, which seemed to be the reason for his return. He still didn't quite grasp what it was. Just when he was thinking about this, a series of system windows flashed before his eyes. Installing the system, a blinking light appeared, announcing that the gluttony system had been initiated. Before our protagonist could understand what was happening, his consciousness was ripped from his body. His eyes opened in a mix of shock and astonishment as he was dragged into a completely unknown void. He plummeted through a reddish space full of glitches, his body spinning uncontrollably, until he finally landed with a splashing thud in a crimson liquid. As he stood up, soaked, he discovered he was in the middle of a true sea of blood. In front of him loomed a monstrous and grotesque tower that seemed to disappear into that completely red sky. The scene was breathtaking and left our boy speechless as he looked around, perplexed at that infernal landscape. Confusion and surprise took hold of him. And he wonders where the hell I am. How is that possible? I was sleeping just a second ago, and thus begins a new and mysterious path in search of power. He fills up, finds himself in an unknown dimension, a passage totally tinted in red with that cursed tower in the background. But what is that tower after all? Suddenly, a grunt can be heard around him. Strange creatures begin to emerge from the crimson ground. A system window appears, naming the monsters as Craveners, level warriors. While our boy tries to process the whole situation, a new notification confirms confirms that his class change is loading. An elastic appears in his hand, making him question whether he has been transported to a monster dungeon. And then, that class change completes. And now, my friend Shin-chan is level 1, a lightning assassin. Despite all that confusion, he realizes that the main priority is to deal with the threat in front of him. A panel is displayed detailing the characteristics of his new class. Lightning assassin, presenting abilities such as divine speed, which increases his movement speed tenfold, and electric blade. This electric blade basically allows him to concentrate electricity into a blade. Without a second thought, he puts aside the fight, using his new speed to dodge and attack the Craveners with all his impressive agility. Then, he slices a Cravener in half with an extremely agile move, and blood sprays everywhere, as Shin-chan demonstrates the lethality of his new skills by defeating that pathetic creature. A system notification informs him that he has acquired 3 Cravener fangs. Using his current strength, he confronts multiple Craveners at once, eliminating them with ease and collecting more loot. With his electric blade in action, he takes down another monster and thinks, it's way too easy dealing with these level guys. This is a breeze. Our boy begins to feel that all of this is too real, resembling just a dream, as he continues slicing and dispatching the enemies. Experience points begin to accumulate, and a notification informs you that you've reached level 2. Congratulations. The most exciting detail here is that he realizes he can actually gain experience and level up. Wow. Everyone knows that leveling up in Manhwa is absolutely ridiculous, right? He opens his status window and sees that all his stats have increased by 5 points. His strength and speed have gained extra bonuses due to his class. A look of astonishment takes over Shin-chan's face. He now realizes that he has found an ideal dungeon to train in, a golden opportunity to become even stronger. Look at the system solving a problem that our protagonist already had. At that moment, a much bigger enemy appears. It's the zone boss, the Hawk King. The Hawk King's roar unleashes a blast of energy. Chin Chin! And our boy smiles, determined, thinking that the time has finally come to prove his true skills. He attacks the boss with a precise and deadly cut, earning an impressive amount of 320 experience points, and boldly levels up to 3. A victory window is displayed showing his rewards, 18 Hawk Fangs and a Hawk Crystal. Looking at the results, he is filled with reflection. Bosses yield much more experience than common monsters. I want to defeat only bosses. He leveled up 2 levels in the blink of an eye. Dude, you're crazy. The guy is leveling up so fast. While observing the fallen body of the Hawk King, a notification from the system flashes before him with a single word, devour. Gigi's eyes widen in surprise and confusion at the unexpected command from the system. The devour message persists over the body of the defeated monster, making him ponder what this could mean. It can't be. An idea quickly crosses his mind and mine as well. Well, he has the power of gluttony, right? Exciting. He reaches out to the corpse and, as he does, a bright light begins to emanate from his palm, responding to, his will. The glow intensifies stronger and stronger, surrounding his hand in a powerful red aura. At that moment, everything falls into place. So, this is the power of gluttony, he thinks, astonished, just as the absorption process begins. An absurdly intense amount of energy flows from the body of the Hawk King and is consumed by a devastating vortex. My brother, he feels the new forces pulsing inside him, focusing on his clenched fist. The system announces complete devouring, and to his surprise, the monster he absorbed transforms into a card that shows the Hawk King now classified as a Cloud Warrior. Holding that card, he is filled with the incredible truth. He can devour the enemies he defeats and turn them into his own classes. Look at that. How delightful. I like it. His eyes widen as he understands the magnitude of this ability from the 11 ground. Wait, this is not just a fleeting memory. A demonic image arises in his mind, the terrifying being from his previous life. The devouring process intertwines with the figure of the Demon King, and soon that connection becomes, clear. The puzzle is complete. Sem-chain realizes, with horror and admiration, that he has acquired the ability that belongs to the Demon King Lan, and the power of gluttony is now his. Oh man, his heart stops, racing. He also has a small recollection of the world system. The classes that people awaken have their strengths and weaknesses, but the rule that can never be broken is that everyone is limited to a single class. But now, Sem-chain observes his 2 class cards. He has 2 classes at the same time, defying the norm of the real world. His mind races quickly before all these explanations. Wait, if I can devour this many monsters, I could have an infinite number of classes, right? No! His eyes shine with that pulsating red intensity. The guy is insane, reflecting his unchecked ambition. However, a doubt arises in his mind. Why did he receive this power in the first place? Then quickly, our boy looks terrified at the distant tower. And what exactly is that magical tower behind? Me? Suddenly, a brutal tremor shakes the entire dimension. catching the system by surprise like a bucket of cold water. The pressure is so intense that he feels as if the world is crumbling around him. What's going on? He wonders, as the cold sweat trickles down his forehead. From the tower, an imposing figure emerges through a bright energy portal. Then, a voice echoes through the air. "You finally made it!" Upon hearing this voice, Shin-chan gets nervous. "I have been waiting for you here for a long time." That figure, designated by the system as the Lord, is a hooded being that exudes power. This guy must be strong. Those eyes are so bright. Just by looking at this guy, I already know it's dangerous. To Shin-chan's extreme surprise, this individual speaks his name. Shin-chan reflects on how the ranking system works. Both awakens and monsters are categorized by their combat power, ranging from level E, the weakest, to level S, the maximum, the strongest. Then, without warning, the Lord attacks with insane speed. My brother, awkwardly, can barely defend himself, being thrown back by the force of the impact. Then, with a mix of bitterness and skepticism, Shin-chan remembers his past life. He barely survived to reach level S, and now he is facing an S-class boss, while his own power has barely reached level D. You think this is just a walk in the park? Now hold on, kid. The rarity of power is so colossal that he feels completely subjugated in all the statistics. He can't even believe it. What kind of monster dungeon is this? My brother, how is a level S monster here? While dealing with the Lord and his class, another question troubled him. Does this guy know my name? And despite the brutal difference in power, awkwardly, he doesn't give up. He fights bravely and notices something extremely peculiar. Even though they exchange blows, the Lord had several chances to finish him off at once, but simply does not do so. After yet another brutal strike that sends him flying, he feels shattered against the ground, poor thing. But he notices an interesting detail. All the strikes avoid fatal points. That Lord knocks him down effortlessly, with a completely disdainful smile on his face. Questioning whether he is still fighting, then with his mouth completely covered in blood, filled with it, yet his determination sharper than ever, Shin-chan finally understands that situation and also the intention of that man. He wants Shin-chan to bow before him. The man made a formal and provocative offer. "You should think long and hard about the offer I am going to make to you. You can stay here and protect the Tower of Darkness by my side. This opportunity is rare." Shin-chan responds with a categorical no in his mind. No matter what happens, he will not settle in this empty hell. Then, my friend, a bolt of energy strikes Shin-chan. This guy must be related to Frieza. Unfortunately, our boy is unable to move in time, and the pain brings him back to reality. That attack is a demonstration of power. The man coldly warns him, "Do you really believe I would let you live, brat? The only reason I am being so patient is that you are the only one to have reached this place." As the man's aura intensifies, absorbing the energy of the fallen monsters, he prepares for a final attack. His power becomes palpable as the system's windows confirm. He gives Shin-chan an ultimatum. "I will ask you once. While I raise a massive chunk of land with my power, will you stay here or be crushed by me until you disappear? Huh, brat? Answer." Electricity crackles around Shin-chan and his eyes shine golden intensely. His answer is given, "I choose to kill you." The man laughs at his audacity. How ridiculous. And effortlessly dodges Shin-chan's strike with a disturbing ease. That attack hits the empty ground, sending debris flying, while the man remains unperturbed. Out of chances, he prepares again. But everyone knows that Shin-chan's mind is experienced and has gone through several battles. It was working at full speed, analyzing every movement of that opponent. His eyes shone, and he was determined. After that last exchange, he picked up on a pattern and managed to identify a weakness. Before each attack, there is a preparation time of 0.4 seconds. That was a perfect window for him to dodge. An audacious plan forms in his mind. If I time the opportunity and strike while the man is invulnerable, maybe I can hit him with everything. He is realistic. His goal is not to kill the man. He knows that level D cannot surpass level S, so his aim is to use the paralyzing power of his electric blade to create a chance for escape. And then, with the opening he created, he activates his divine speed, multiplying his speed by 10 and, running at an absurd pace. It was too fast, and he didn't have a chance to distance himself until that moment. Then he reveals the true strategy. As they exchanged blows, he realized that this was the only source of light around. With the target in sight, he lunges toward that light, reaching out in hopes of escaping that hellish dimension. But just when he was about to reach it, the light flickers and disappears. Damn, our boy hangs suspended in the air. He feels confused and alarmed. Dude, where's the light? That man appears behind him, revealing the terrible truth. What a bummer. That was just a residual image he left behind. The exit you seek does not exist. The shadow of terror covers Zixam's face upon hearing those words that confirm his worst nightmare. This is no longer a sea of monsters. Despite that escape attempt being a complete fiasco, that man seems impressed. Zeke Sam, I didn't think you would find a flaw in my technique so quickly. That's intriguing. He continues to acknowledge Shin-chan's mental strength, even under the overwhelming weight of his despair. You still analyze the situation calmly and risk your life for a chance. Then the man reveals himself in his true form, a colossal demon with horns, radiating an overwhelming aura of power. You must be crazy, brother. The guy is the devil himself. The system identifies him as the overwhelming demon, a Class S star warrior. With a new voice, it declares, "You truly are the one who will bring hope." Chan's eyes widen, like genuinely in fear, also recognizing that this guy is really strong. That figure is impossible to confuse. A silent scream echoes in his head. He had seen that guy somewhere, maybe in his other life. Shin-chan had his last confrontation with a certain Lan, a being who exhibited overwhelming angelic power. During that battle, he constantly transformed into various classes, sometimes a fire demon, sometimes a beast of nature, even the figure that radiated sacred light. And he also remembered perfectly one of those classes and forms, which was exactly the same as the one standing before him now. This could only mean one thing. At some point, Lanu had been consumed by the gluttony of Angai, and now that voracious force was intertwined with his body. "Oh, don't tell me," lamented Seishan, surprised to recognize the place. The demonic soul offered a smile and remarked, "You really not only shine under pressure, but also possess a sharp mindset, huh, kid? You have proven yourself worthy of everything that is here." "Everything that is here? What do you mean?" questioned Shin-chan, quite intrigued. The entity handed him an ornate key, explaining that this key was the key to the Tower of Darkness. The guy continued saying that he devoured countless ferocious demons, and the most powerful among them were imprisoned in that tower. Devour them and gain more strength. Let them all become your power. You just acquired the key to the time rift. Yes? Chin, now very confused, held the key and asked, "Why did you do all this? Why bother helping me?" "Even among demons, there is a moral hierarchy. Demon kings massacre my realm purely out of greed. I have waited a long time for a chance to take revenge, and finally, that opportunity has arrived. That guy was right. You are the only hope, the only one who can triumph." "And who is this guy you speak of?" noted the entity, pointing at the imposing tower. "All the answers are within that Tower of Darkness. Go and find them for yourself. Now harness my powers and seek revenge against them. Take my powers and hit the like button, my son. If you made it this far and didn't hit the like, you must be kidding, right? My brother, I won't give the system to you, okay?" Then he kept talking. "Now take my powers, and from this moment on, you must become unstoppable and unbeatable." Wow, why did I remember this? Open the doors of the Tower of Darkness, move forward, and devour everything you find inside. The demon Avasal warned. Well, it should be Avasal, right? But he warned Avasal, be careful. The demons in this tower won't have the same compassion I have. They are the most cunning and fierce that exist. But the intensity of his voice grew as he continued. You must endure it all. You must conquer them all by yourself. You must reach the top of the world until you devour each and every demon king. The demon Avasal began to dissolve as he stated, "Only a person like that is worthy of possessing my powers." That entity disappeared right then and there. 2 years passed. There, submerged in that Camerazino Sea, a loading bar appeared in his hand, indicating that he was absorbing power. The system also announced his ascension. Without ground, he rose to level 10 and obtained demonic hellish bones. With a firm resolution, Shin-chan embraced his new purpose. "I understand. I will carry your will with me." The system confirmed that he had finished devouring the demon Avasal. "I will make them pay with their blood." The sunlight flooded the scene through a window, signaling his return to reality. Shin's eyes quickly opened, and he heard a voice screaming, "Come on, get up!" Everyone startled. He sat up in bed while his colleagues hurried to get ready. One of them shouted, "Move! We can't be late! Today is the day of the uniform delivery." Confused, Shin-chan thought to himself, "Am I back in the dormitory? How so?" As he took off his shirt, he noticed that his torso was completely healed. He wondered, where are my wounds? They are completely healed? Was all of that just a dream? But upon opening his system interface, the reality of his powers was confirmed. But my system shows that everything really happened. Furthermore, all the loot I got in the dream is there. He analyzed all his new stats and pondered. "So you mean I managed to reach level 10 in just one night? What's my rank now?" Suddenly, a colleague leaned over from the bottom bunk and greeted him. "Hey, you bunch of losers!" The guy had a wicked grin. "Last night, someone was bragging about their own strength. Now you're not going to try to take my place as the big shot of this dorm, right?" The other bespectacled colleague looked nervous about the situation. Milan, changing the subject, said, "Come on, the rank evaluations are about to start." Then, this guy began to fix his gaze on Shin-chan and added, equally excited, "Let's see how good you really are." Walking towards the evaluation zone, Yanshu was biting into his bread with an air of superiority. "It may seem like everyone in our dorm is rank E, but don't forget that each rank is divided into 3 levels. You're just a bunch of low-level trash, while I'm a mid-rank." There was a colossal difference in power between the levels, and of course, he was boasting. "Believe me? I could wipe out 10 of you. Got it?" As the group headed to the evaluation zone, the troublemaker continued to show off. "Who knows? Maybe I haven't been evaluated for 2 years. My rank probably went up again." The losers, on their part, walked in silence, exhausted by the bragging. Marlin whispered to Shin-chan, encouraging him, "Hey, Shin-chan, do your best when it's your turn. Go ahead and try to take his rank. You'll leave him paralyzed with shock." With a half smile on his face, Singe reflected on that idea, imagining himself conquering his rank. Meanwhile, the buzz of students filled the university courtyard, with conversations vibrating through the air. Upon arrival, Malin and Xiangsu were stunned to see the crowd. "Wow, how many people are already here for the ranking evaluation ceremony? I can't believe everyone has gathered." Suddenly, a group of bullies started shoving others aside, clearing their path. Tianchu recognized them, fear written across his face. They were Gonshin's goons, the guy with the intimidating white hair. Tianchu whispered, "We better stay away." Panic overtook Malin Changsu as he realized that the bullies were targeting them, but the situation was tense. Without feeling the ground beneath him, he simply walked calmly, completely ignoring their presence. The bullies were taken aback upon seeing him, to everyone's surprise, and bowed respectfully. Mr. Shichang's friends were stunned, hardly believing what they were witnessing. Xianshu, incredulous, wondered why those bullies were being so respectful to Shichang. Wait a minute, Milan was right. As Yanshu displayed a triumphant smile, Shichang moved forward, past the bullies who were still bowing to him. Then, an authoritative voice interrupted his path. "Hey!" The eyes of our boy shone brightly. A guy in a flashy t-shirt and an arrogant smile introduced himself. "I heard someone messed with Gonshin yesterday. Hey, I'm Chianti from the student council." Chianti, showing off, spoke with disdain. "Did you know he's my little brother and that I'm the great president of the Golting Student Council?" At that moment, the crowd began to murmur as they recognized him. "This guy is from the student council." Gengeng's friends were worried. Besides being the president's lackey, he was also doing well in the rankings. What could he want with Shin-chan? Quickly, that atmosphere became uncomfortable. Chianti approached Shin-chan, presuming, "Guess what? I have a great nose. I can smell true power, but from you, I only smell the scent of an heir to a loser who'll never go anywhere." Growing tired of the indifference, he responded to the provocation. "Are you some kind of dog or something to be sniffing that out?" Chianti's expression twisted in anger. "What did you say, punk?" Just as Chianti was about to explode, a firm voice interrupted. "Enough, Chianti!" A young man with blonde hair and golden eyes stepped between them. It was Gunting, the president of the student council. "I've investigated everything and decided that Gonshin is guilty. It's only fair that he pays for his actions." Defeated, Chianti could only murmur, "All right, president, it's fine, whatever." Gunting watches that scene. With a cold and calculating expression, he filled up and became contemplative as he watched Chianti walk away. Then, the professor stepped onto the stage and asked for silence. "Please, the evaluations are about to begin. We will conduct the evaluations in the order of identification number. Please come up to the stage when you hear your names." Gunting stepped away with Chianti and cheerfully responded, "Understood, sir." He thought to himself, this Shin-chan doesn't seem like a great threat. High atop the building, a mysterious woman was observing the crowd of students below. Inside her office, overlooking the ceremony, a man questioned the woman. "What did you bring here to observe the ranking evaluations? Did something interesting catch your attention?" "That's it," the woman smiled enigmatically while holding a cup. "And these evaluations can be quite intriguing." This time, an hour later, the evaluation began. The announcer called the next student for the ranking evaluation, Xiangzhou. His friends cheered in support from the audience. Xiangzhou clenched his fist with determination and said, "All right, I'll see what my true strength is." Then, with those firm steps, he headed towards the evaluation portal and, without hesitation, crossed the shining linear passage, disappearing into the testing dungeons. The ranking evaluations occur individually within a labyrinth of monsters designed within that space, a magical core for absorption connected to various cables, ready to absorb that energy. The procedure was simple. The student was required to channel all of their energy towards the core. Xiangzhou then concentrated all his power into his hands, and with a shout, unleashed a massive explosion of energy towards the core. The magical core absorbed the impact and began transmitting that energy through the cables to the external equipment. That external measuring device buzzed as it processed the received energy. Eventually, the energy readings would be displayed digitally on the screen. In a letter, it began to form on the marker. The announcer dropped the bomb, revealing the ranking and average level, full record. An official beside him couldn't contain his curiosity. "And the other data, how is it?" People have already started going crazy with anxiety. I said, calm down, calm down. The main result is coming. The anticipation is high, my brother. That assessment might still present another important piece of information. What is the maximum potential that this awakened can reach? So, the blood south potential reveals itself as rank C. Then, they explain to us that awakened individuals with high potential usually attract the attention of the authorities. That complete assessment consists of 2 rankings, current and average level. If Angisu leaves the test downcast, thinking to himself that he hasn't evolved at all in the past 2 years and dreaming of a better rank, he then goes down the stairs, visibly discouraged, while Malone tries to offer support. Calm down, my friend, we are ridiculous together. Malon chuckles. The others also appear with their results and support each other, laughing at the situation. We are really screwed. Honestly, there aren't that many rank D students around here. They might not even have any new ones show up this year. Suddenly, an unexpected reading lights up the screen. They all lay down in astonishment as they see it. Current rank D, low level, but with potential for B. The faces of Taira and his partners turn to disappointment, while a student from the back jumps for joy inside the portal. The announcer dramatically narrates the first promotion to rank D of the day. This announcement broke the monotony, and the crowd erupted in shock, realizing that the real action was just beginning. Soon after, another student manifests in the portal, now with the impressive result, rank D, low level, with potential for rank A. Xiangsu laments next to his friends. That was already the 5th promotion to D. The incredulous teachers comment that they did not expect to find so many talents in the area. If this continues, this year's assessment will be a true spectacle. Then, one of them is astonished. The announcer speaks up again. And now, who will be the next to be evaluated? A pair of refined sneakers stands out on the stage. Gunshin, the president of the student council, adjusts his tie with a glimmer of confidence. And that crowd goes wild. It's this guy's turn. He commands the crowd and carries the title of heir to the Imperial Guild. He puffs up, surveying everything with an intense, focused gaze. The students murmur among themselves about the rumors that say he got an A on his last assessment, a historic achievement that has now become part of that school. No one knows what his results will be in the dungeons. The magical core pulses anxiously to capture the power of the next competitor. Then Garinga stands firm in front of the core, ready to show his true power. As he positions himself, he reflects that only by showing all his strength in the graduation exam will he make the best impression. Now, he must hold back his power. His eyes gleam with determination, even as he remembers that he will always be the best at the institution. A wave of power radiates from him, and on the main screen, the rank and potential indicators begin to inflate with an electric energy. The supervising professor notices something unusual and exclaims, bewildered, "What color is that?" The final result appears on the screen. High level, with S level potential. "Damn!" my brother exclaims euphorically. "This is the first student in the history of the school to achieve this. Wow, that's my president. Long live the president." Jean's friends are astonished. Like, does someone from our school really have S potential? That's right. We just witnessed a rare milestone, my friends. The officials cannot contain that emotion. Results confirmed. A high-level A with A potential. This needs to be communicated directly to the superiors. Of course, that excitement continues. An awakened with S-level potential is a true treasure. He knows they will attract government attention, and the fact that he is the heir to the Imperial Guild is a bonus. This will certainly make headlines. Ganqing watches the crowd with a smile as his result shines on the screen. Behind him, in the office, the principal analyzes the evaluations of that year. He detected an incredible amount of talent. Principal Zhuang turns to the observer. "Hey, did you have any idea that Ting had S-level potential?" "No, I'm not surprised you came here today." She replies impassively, "No, I didn't know. I'm not here just because of him." The director looks surprised and smirks enigmatically. That woman concludes, "Compared to Goding, I'm even more interested in his results." The camera focuses on Shin Chan, calmly observing the scene. From the crowd, the announcer calls the next student for the assessment. Shin Chan's name echoes through the hall, drawing everyone's attention. As the chapter approaches its end, a bully named Kiandi taunts Sem Jin, calling him a loser and telling him to take care of the dormitory. Jandim bursts into laughter watching Shin Chan. Don't have a pathetic level result, and to avoid becoming a joke, he continues to mock, claiming that a group of losers with S-level results will be humiliated in the graduation exam. Shin Chan's friend, Jiang Su, can no longer take it and shouts that they should wait and see that Shin Chan will make him eat his words. Meanwhile, our protagonist, Shin Chan was there, preparing with all his might for the level assessment, and without wasting any time, crossed an energy portal. His friends and the school bullies were watching everything, and one of the classmates, named Xiaoyang, let out a worried murmur about what might happen inside that evaluation machine. Groundless, he was suspended, completely exposed to the gaze of the magic core, which was deeply analyzing his power. His friends, filled with expectations and also a bit of fear, wondered if they could really make it through. Then, in the blink of an eye, a single monstrous eye emerged from the shadows, watching Shin-chan as if analyzing prey. Inside the core, a voice explained that, at this critical moment, the best chance for an awakened person to secure a promising future was to enlist in a prestigious guild, and that the main opportunity to demonstrate their worth was in that graduation combat exam. This exam was composed of teams of 10 members, and each student had the freedom to choose their own crew. The championship team would have the honor of being directly recruited by the most renowned guild in the country. The Imperial Guild, thus these level assessments were not a way to understand the level of each awakened individual. They had an even more important objective, recruitment. So, the student presented himself to Chief Gunting, bringing along Jinlin, who had just been promoted to a low level, and with that, the 10-member team was finalized. The 9 newly promoted students were full of confidence, thinking they would shine and secure victory in the exam. But in this atmosphere of competitiveness, unformidable teams were easily formed, while the weaker ones were left behind, being eliminated from the competition. Poor things. Unfortunately, everyone knows that was the natural law of survival, you know? Currently Malin, nervous, wondered how long he had been inside. That assessment screen remained still, not showing any results. The other students began to disperse, mocking that Shen was so weak that he couldn't even register a level, suggesting that the assessment had already concluded. Andy, empathetic, told Gunting that everyone else was trash, suggesting they go out for karaoke since their team was complete. One Ting agreed and told the group to call the others to leave. But just when they were about to exit, Shin-chan's level screen started to malfunction, emitting a strange buzzing sound. Suddenly, to everyone's surprise, the screen finally displayed the final result, high level. After a moment of absolute silence, Shin-chan's friends erupted in a wild celebration. Sihan, in a frenzy, shouted to the bullies, "Look at that! What did I say? I knew it." Gunting's group and Andon were stunned, completely in disbelief that Shin-chan had achieved a high level. But then, that machine announced that it had detected an anomaly in the magical core, and that the results could be somehow incorrect, also recommending a new test. Inside that machine, Shin-chan thought he had only tested his normal body. He had to change class, and reasoned that his level 10 corresponded to a high level. With that in mind, he decided to test his other skills and started a class change. The class change was a success, turning him into the King of Mutts. What a name that is. He decided to test this new class, which he considered the weakest. Outside, the level screen had another glitch, again showing a high level, but this time the level kept rising and quickly progressed to the mid-C rank. His friends were speechless, completely astonished. The hygiene level had risen once again. Gunting and Kaidinya were in shock and started shouting that it wasn't normal and that something was wrong. Even the responsible teacher didn't know what to do. He questioned the reason for the rank change and whether there was a system error, as he had never seen anything like this. The system then announced another anomaly, but this time a magic core began to tremble violently, as if under immense pressure, since it knew that Shin-chan's other 2 classes should be above rank C. Shin-chan decided to go all in and initiate another class change, while a purple energy began to crackle around him. That transformation combined into an absolute demonic power of the abyss. Now he decided to test the full extent of his powers. The status card of his new class, Abyss Demon, revealed itself, showing that the boy was a stellar warrior with maximum stats in strength, endurance, speed, luck, and mentality. The eye of the magic core was firing uncontrollably, unable to contain Shin-chan's overwhelming energy. A colossal explosion of purple energy burst from the evaluation device. That energy created a huge vortex in the sky, sending debris flying in all directions. Vaunting and the others looked up, terrified, wondering what the hell was happening. Shin-chan's friends were equally perplexed. One of them described him as a divine phenomenon. You know this would go down in history. Another friend, terrified, feared that their dormitory had spawned a devastating monster as the potential screen began to flicker. Between glitches, a bright golden symbol materialized on the screen. Wow. The professor, sweating profusely with his eyes wide open in panic, stammered, but this is an S rank potential. Goodness. Gontique was left speechless as well. My son, a drop of cold sweat trickled down his temple as he watched. That screen clearly showed the S potential, but alongside it, a terrifying warning began to flash, indicating that the system was collapsing. That message escalated to announce a total system error. Sinjin's power was so colossal that it exceeded the machine's capacity, pushing it to the brink of collapse. The system was completely overloaded, my brother, displaying SSS potential, before declaring that the value could not be determined because the system's limits had been surpassed. The bully was in total shock, unable to process everything he had just witnessed. With a deafening explosion, the magic core violently erupted, devastating the entire assessment area. The professor and his assistant panicked, shouting that the core was overloaded and rushing to ensure that the students were safe. Among the wreckage, the energy was still crackling, and the professor desperately looked for Shin-chan, anxiously calling out to check if he was all right. The professor, frightened, looked at the scene inside the assessment chamber and realized that the core was dead. It had become just a withered, lifeless shell. As he wondered if the core had simply exhausted its energy, Shin-chan emerged from the debris, unscathed. Groundless, he reflected that he had pushed the magic core too hard, breaking it, but at least something good had come of it. A system window announced the complete devouring. The guy had devoured the assessment system's core. Wow. The power of gluttony allowed him to consume the core's powers, granting him a new rank objective. The delicate magic core, capable of detecting ranks and threats, groundless, calmly exited the destroyed assessment chamber. As if nothing had happened, while the residual energy still crackled around him, his eyes shone with a turquoise hue. As soon as he activated the new ability, the delicate magical core now had the capacity to see the rank of everyone around him, noticing that most were level 1. He thought this new feature would be quite convenient. With shining eyes, he began to scan the crowd, analyzing the power of each citizen. Finally, his gaze settled on Guting, and he realized that his true hidden strength was rank C at a high level. Shinshin reflected, thinking that Guting was nothing more than a mediocre student. The teacher, holding the remnants of the destroyed core, announced that the device had exhausted all its power, and therefore today's assessment was officially cancelled. He also warned that the evaluation data for Shinchan might be compromised and instructed the students to return the next day to use an alternative facility. But for Shinchan's friends, the teacher's words didn't matter. They knew the truth and understood that the data was irrefutable, and they began to celebrate Shinchan as a genius. They then decided it was time to head back to the dormitory. However, Andy, filled with rage, blocked their path. He refused to accept that someone like Shin-chan could ascend to rank C or even had rank S potential, insisting that the machine had failed. Andy shouted at Shin-chan, accusing him of ruining the core and wasting the student council members' time. Then, he started demanding that he explain how he would compensate him. Already at a loss and out of patience, he felt an electric energy coursing through his hand, thinking that this guy simply didn't know when to stop. With furious eyes, Shinshin pondered the possibility of simply eliminating that annoyance. But at that moment, Ganqing decided to intervene. He said that Andy had reached his limit and that it was inappropriate to be so rude to his teammate. Andy and the others were taken aback, repeating aloud the expression, teammate. What do you mean, teammate? Then, with a sly smile, Guting reached out his hand to Shin-chan and invited him to join his team for the graduation combat exam, promising that together they would achieve the highest score in history. Shin-chan, however, observed Guting's outstretched hand. He remained impassive, contemplating that unexpected offer. The atmosphere in the school park grew tense. Guting, the student council president, approached Shin-chan, extending an invitation that left the onlookers in shock. Nervousness gripped one of Guting's team members. He knew that without the chance to join, someone would have to be ousted, and being in that team was practically a ticket to first place. His envy was palpable among the crowd. Many tried to get into Guting's team. Some even offered a bribe, but to no avail. No one could understand what made Shin-chan so special that he received a personal invitation. The generating fact, despite all the disbelief, was clear. Guting had called Shin-chan. One of Guting's subordinates approached, trying to control his resentment. With his teeth clenched, forcing a smile, he welcomed Shin-chan. Well, but his face clearly said he couldn't afford to be publicly hostile, but his contempt was evident. My brother. Meanwhile, Shin-chan dismissed his proposal with a nonchalant gesture and a terse word. No, I'm not interested. Shin-chan's response shocked everyone. Andy could hardly believe it, and Guting's eyes showed barely concealed surprise. Indignant, Andy shouted at Shin-chan, reminding him that his team was the strongest in the school, but Shin-chan didn't even bother to respond. He simply looked on coldly. The guy's eyes were shining red, attracting Kenny's attention, who was making a lot of noise and shouldn't bother him ever again. As Shin-chan and Guting walked away, Andy stood there, red with anger and humiliation. Breathing fire, the onlookers could hardly believe what they had witnessed. How did he have the courage to reject Guding? Some considered him bold, while others feared the potential consequences. The students began to speculate. The only reason to dodge Guding would be that Shin-chan also had the ambition to be first, especially considering he had received a similar ranking in the evaluation. It seemed things were about to heat up, you know? Other students joked about the scene, laughing at the presumption that Andy admired Shin-chan's audacity. However, by 9 o'clock, Guding remained calm and told his subordinate that it was fine, as it was clear that Shin-chan had his own plans. The crowd began to disperse as Guding cast a long shadow over the schoolyard. From a distance, a principal with a scar on his face expressed his disappointment. "What a pity I couldn't form a team. I was hoping for a new school record to be broken this year." Beside him, a blonde principal smiled. Wickedly. For her, this unexpected twist made everything much more intriguing. She commented on the power dynamics. Guding, his power came from a golden cradle. Declining his invitation was essentially a declaration of war, but she added, casting a shrewd glance at Guding, that the council president was not exactly weak. Meanwhile, Andy fumed, complaining that Shin-chan only received attention due to a system error and that he didn't deserve that ranking. Guding listened in silence, pondering the idea. If the evaluation wasn't a mistake, his resolve solidified. He wouldn't allow anyone, not even a remote chance, to take his first place. Sensing his leader's frustration, Jean murmured a suggestion. Since Shin-chan was an inexperienced combat student, perhaps he could teach him a lesson in secret. Guding shot a quick look and coldly asked, "Doesn't seem like such a petty person, does he?" Immediately, Andy backtracked, denying having implied that. Guding turned away, deciding to cancel his plans to go to karaoke, and he told the team to follow him, stepping away from the group. However, before he left, he paused and, with an intense gaze and his sparkling eyes, gave Andy a subtle warning. "Whatever you do, it won't have anything to do with me," washing his hands of any future responsibility. Andy thought for a moment, processing Guding's words. A mischievous smile appeared on his face as he understood the double meaning. Guding wouldn't take responsibility, which meant he had a free pass to act as he wished. About 10 minutes later, the news spread. One student asked another if it was true that Shin-chan was no longer at school. That student with white hair confirmed with a smile. "I heard Shin-chan say he was going home for a moment, and he even left without eating." Upon hearing this, Yandy kicked a soda can on the ground. Furious, he felt that even the gods were on his side, providing the perfect opportunity. A cruel smile formed on his face. "Ah, you now. I'm going to get you. That's what I'm feeling." If Shin-chan was off campus, the school rules wouldn't protect him anymore. Outside campus, everything was allowed. The scene shifts, and we see Shin-chan oblivious to everything, walking leisurely with his headphones on. Without any ground, he walked through the city streets, passing by other pedestrians, absorbed in his own thoughts. Then a flashback of his past life begins. One of the most prominent guilds was invading a sacred dungeon when an incident occurred inside. They encountered a monster stronger than anything they had ever seen or encountered before. Before them, a being of pure destructive energy also emerged, an apocalyptic entity known as Wrath. The guild was utterly annihilated, and after that, Wrath emerged from the dungeon and descended upon the human world, unleashing an apocalypse. That is all the information Shin-chan had. Then, back to the present, Shin-chan's determination solidified. In this life, he had devised a plan to discover the exact location of that dungeon as quickly as possible, but to put this into practice, he needed one crucial detail: a lot of money. Coincidentally, he arrived at an imposing building. The exchange of mithril monsters with no chance knew about his past life, that the exchange of mithril monsters belonging to the Mithril Guild would become in the future the largest facilitator of resource exchanges in the country. Weapons and equipment are crucial for the strength of an awakened, and this place is the ideal intermediary for buying and selling. For Shin-chan, it was also the fastest way to gather the money he needed. So, with this information, Shin-chan approached the counter and with a metallic clink, dropped several monster teeth onto the surface. With an almost childish curiosity, a bespectacled employee in a bow tie took a close look at the monster teeth Shin-chan had dropped on the counter. The guy, completely surprised, asked the young student where he had gotten such amazing material. Shin-chan calmly replied that the teeth came from a monster he had encountered. The employee was unimpressed and revealed his skepticism, claiming he had never heard of anything like it. Meanwhile, his colleague, Miss Allie, was observing the unfolding scene. Miss Allie, responding to the call of memory, quickly recognized the teeth as belonging to a griffin, an intriguing material. She explained that these teeth were left by monsters in clouds classified as rank E, and that they could both be used to forge rank E, staves or ground ground into powder. However, the employee interrupted with a look of disdain, as if he were talking about trash, completely belittling the value of the jar, a lower-tier object. Then, with that typical arrogance of someone who considers themselves superior, he said that the store's system was VIP and intended only for items of rank D or higher, completely ignoring the rank E teeth. In his thoughts, he complained about the lack of high-profile clients and lamented that he would never be promoted to supervisor. Thinking about what to do, he decided that the best course of action would be to pass the service to the newcomer, giving an order to the lady there to take Shin-chan's request while she turned with an air of superiority, you know? She obediently nodded and proceeded. The lady there handed Shin-chan the amount in an envelope and, in a professional tone, asked if there was anything else she could assist him with. Shin-chan checked the payment, about 18,000 for the canines, which was a considerable amount, you know, but it barely covered the rent for now. Then, an idea crossed his mind. A purple. Energy began to gather in his hand, and suddenly, he summoned a huge sword that shone with impressive power. He asked the lady there to evaluate it. The lady there was left speechless at the magnificence of the weapon appearing before her. It was as if her words had fled her mind entirely. Although she had never seen anything so extraordinary, her instincts told her that this weapon was at least rank B, or maybe even A. The colleague who returned to check what was happening laughed scornfully and said that A-rank weapons cost millions, and that in all his years of work, he had never seen one. But then, a new voice sounded. A well-dressed man in a suit and glasses approached, and, with a certainty that generated tension, claimed that they were neither rank A nor B. Everyone felt uncertain. An employee now referred to the man as boss, and, in a mix of delight and skepticism, asked if he really believed a poor student could have anything of value. Ignoring his colleague, the boss, with a keen and experienced look, began to say that this weapon was a prominent weapon from the swamplands and dropped a bomb. It was equipment, my friend, of rank S. There you go, now you're really not getting promoted. The boss's words struck the two employees like a lightning bolt. Well, I think the other one got hit twice, you know? The lady there covered her mouth in horror as the other employee let out a scream of disbelief. His glasses shattered in reaction. Immediately, the boss approached Shin-chan and, with a wide and enthusiastic smile, grabbed his hand and said it was an honor. Having that young man as a client, while the arrogant employee looked down, pale and perplexed, the boss invited his client to the VIP room, pleading not to hesitate to ask for any help he might need. Still dazed, the young lady picked up that sword and followed the boss, while, without a chance, he moved away, and a faint smile of satisfaction blossomed on his face, as he thought that finally what he had long awaited had come to fruition. That appearance of the elegant man was exactly part of his plan. My friend, this chapter made it clear that the guild leader Demetrio was now in the game. Within an extremely luxurious environment, Si-chan was preparing tea, while the floor stood alongside. Soon, that conversation began asking about the price of that S-rank weapon that the young man had brought. With a calmness that even impressed him, Si-chan mentioned a staggering price of 1 million. However, he could not hide his astonishment. A weapon of that caliber was worth much more. He, completely incredulous, kept asking if only 1 million was the amount Si-chan was asking for. He explained that even an A-rank equipment would have negotiated for millions, and that S-rank weapon could be worth tens of millions in the market, attracting even a buyer's frenzy. Si-chan clarified that situation and said he was not selling that weapon, but intended to use it as collateral to obtain a loan of 1 million that he planned to return in a month. MC's mind began to work frantically. It was surprising how a college student would have such an unexpected strategy, using an S-rank weapon as bargaining chip. He soon realized that Si-chan had a clever plan in mind, much more elaborate than his age suggested, and that the possession of that treasure made him an uncommon person. As Si-chan calmly served his tea, he wondered if the boy had run away from home being rich, or if he was a disguised prodigy. Regardless of the answer, MC was certain that Si-chan was not an ordinary person. Then, noticing MC's interest, Si-chan sweetened the deal. He indicated that he would return 1 million in just 1 month, and he would still pay 10% more the following month. So, in search of a more private and serious dialogue, he asked his assistant Xiao Li to leave the room for a moment. Once alone, with a furtive expression, he began to connect Shin-chan's strategies. The guy, already wearing a sly and clever smile, made his first deduction. He knew that Shin-chan was a student at the National University of Awakened Ones, and that final year students were about to graduate. He continued reasoning about the university's annual graduation exam, which would take place exactly a month ago. Then, with a prize of 1 million for the first place, he connected the dots. The exam date and the prize perfectly coincided with the loan proposal and Shin-chan's timeline as well. Finally, this guy spoke confidently. He was sure that Shin-chan completely trusted that he could achieve first place in the exam. By laying out the entire situation, he realized that, despite Shin-chan possibly waiting a month to receive the prize, he was seeking a loan using a remarkably valuable object. This indicated a true financial urgency. So, with that agonized perception of Shin-chan's plan ahead, he saw a business business opportunity that transcended mere money. Look, the guy saw beyond the money, the elevated potential of Shinchan. He made an incredibly good offer. He proposed $1.5 million in cash now, with no interest for a month, reaching out and suggesting that this was more than just a loan, but the beginning of a friendship and strategic alliance. Suspicious, he remained silent, a bit stunned, not just by the generosity, but also by the difficulty of deciphering his situation, and he assured that everything discussed would be confidential, inviting Shinchan to consider his exchange house as the primary option for future business, always promising the best conditions. Shinchan, extremely surprised, was impressed by the ability to fill and craft such clear reasoning from so few details. Now he understood the reason that in the future, the Mitrio exchange house would become the most powerful and superior in the entire world. Shinchan also knew that, to complete his true mission of defeating Ira, he could not rely solely on his strength. He needed to start forming alliances with trustworthy people. However, understanding that a clever ally has its value, Shinchan shook hands with Enchi. That gesture symbolized not only a loan, but the first step towards an extremely powerful alliance. Then, to formalize the contract they had sealed, a powerful magical pact emerged between them. Shinchan placed his hand over the glowing scroll, thus activating the agreement that would make the fund transfer effective. That magical transaction was completed, and, smiling with satisfaction, he confirmed the transfer of funds on Shinchan's phone. A notification popped up, informing that 1,500,000 points had been credited. Then, with his curiosity piqued, Shinchan asked Enchi which weapon he intended to use for the graduation exam, now that he had left his powerful sword as collateral. Enchi even offered to lend a weapon, showcasing his personal arsenal and admitting that, although he didn't have S-rank equipment available, he had a great selection of A and B rank weapons. But briefly, Shinchan declined that offer, simply responding that it wasn't necessary. The guy was a good leader too, and a good leader doesn't like to owe favors to anyone. Everyone knows that, right, kid? As he was saying goodbye, the kid summoned his weapon and left Zhaoli in total shock. To everyone's surprise, the grown man materialized an S-rank sword, just like the one he had just pawned. Calmly, he confirmed that he had another weapon of equivalent power, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Look at this guy. That revelation, my friend, left Zhaoli and the other employee completely agape. Their faces were a spectacular portrait of disbelief. Having 2 S-rank weapons? That was just, insane for a student, Having made the deal, Shinchan said his goodbyes and went on his way. Enchi Shaolin stood there watching as the manager expressed his admiration for the number of talented young people who were emerging. Up until now, I've seen one. He reaffirmed that he had made an excellent investment in Simchan, very happy to have secured such a promising client. In itself, he decided to reward his assistant, snapped his fingers, and had her promoted to supervisor, instantly bringing a look of pure joy to Xiaomi's face. Outside the building, Simchan paused significantly in front of a window. You know what I'm thinking, man? I'm thinking about that guy who wanted a promotion but simply ignored the poor client. Now look, he's messed up. So he filled himself in front of the window thinking. Suddenly, he remembered he had something very important to do. Then, with renewed determination, he turned to himself and said he needed to buy something. He was contemplating what to do next for his next destination. The scene shifted to Shinchan, who jumped into a taxi with the money he had just earned in hand. He asked the driver to take him to a specific place, getting dropped off at the long-distance bus station of Kanchangge's contact. He was there to pick up someone who meant a lot to him. As he stored memories of his past life, they began to flood his mind. He recalled a time when his family was facing severe financial difficulties. At that time, he hadn't yet awakened his abilities, and no guild would accept him, The painful memories surfaced. He worked tirelessly in hard jobs, like a delivery person, barely managing to scrape together enough cash to pay the rent, and ending up with an almost empty account. He remembered that his older sister, whom he affectionately called Junior, lived with the bare minimum to survive. In one of his memories, he lamented being broke, but she tried to cheer him up, saying she had found a job as a tutor. In the flashback, we see one of the moments when his sister Cheung's acceptance letter to the prestigious Central International Art Institute was received. Although she was radiant to have been accepted, a melancholy lingered on her face. His dream was practically within reach, but family difficulties posed a giant obstacle. Then, Shin-chan revealed his sister's sacrifice. School was far, and she didn't want to be a burden, so she gave up her dream to stay by his side. A thicket of love that would never be forgotten. Back in the present, the agony of those memories mixed with impatience. Without Chango, he looked around worried, as it was already too late, and his sister June should have gotten off the bus. Then, a vibrant and familiar voice emerged, pulling him out of his reverie. "Brother!" It was Sin-jun, his sister, approaching with playful disapproval. She reminded him that she had said 1,000 times that when picking someone up, he should wait at the exit and not at the entrance, And there she was, Sin-jun, dressed in her school uniform, pulling a yellow suitcase. Her expression was vibrant, almost bossy, yet full of affection for him, as if he had returned to a time long past. It felt like 7 long years had passed since he last saw her. Whirlwind of emotions enveloped him as he remained frozen in place. She naturally asked him to help her with the luggage, oblivious to the storm of feelings consuming her brother. Noticing he wasn't reacting, Sinjun waved her hand in front of his face, asking why he was standing there like a fool. Unable to contain his emotions, he hugged her tightly, and suddenly, after all this time, closing his eyes in a moment of pure relief and happiness. Shin-chan was also completely taken aback by the intensity of the hug. His eyes widened, not understanding why it was happening. In his mind, Shin-chan relived the pain of the distance. For him, after all, it had been 7 years since he was able to see his beloved Jun, a time he alone had lived. And still in the embrace, Sin-jun murmured her brother's name, completely bewildered by Shin-chan's behavior. The lack of air finally made her react. She pushed him away and comically complained, "You know you're trying to suffocate me to death, right?" Recovering from the shock, poor thing, she grabbed her backpack and started to walk away. Talking about the strange way he was acting then, as a joke, he asked if any girl had rejected him. Meanwhile, he, all blushing, quickly denied it, but of course not, right? No. As they were walking away from the station, Sin-jun walked beside him, animatedly recounting her trip, not stopping to breathe. Seeing his sister so happy and carefree made Sin-jun smile gently. A silent promise began to grow inside him. The camera focused on Shin-chan's joyful smile, while Shin-chan's determination echoed with a very good intensity. "I will never let you suffer again." The scene then abruptly shifted to a dark alley. A group of bullies were lurking in the shadows. Their leader confirmed that this was the route the idiot Chin Cheng always took to go home. The boss, a guy in a flashy shirt with a cigarette hanging from his lips, ordered his gang to hide and attack as soon as he showed up. The ambush was set. Then, with a sly and cruel grin, full of hatred, the boss vowed to teach Chin Cheng a lesson about what happens when he messes with him. One of the henchmen, noticing that there were student council members nearby, expressed his concern and asked the boss if they weren't going too far with that plan. The leader just scoffed, saying he only wanted to give that kid a little lesson, but his rage exploded as he remembered Shin-chan's attitude. A mere lowlife daring to challenge him. A brief flashback revealed the origin of his hatred, a previous encounter where Shin-chan silenced him with a cold stare. 2 cutting phrases. "You are too noisy. Don't bother me again." Back to the present, blinded by anger, the boss ordered his men to leave Shin-chan in pieces and promised to destroy him in such a way that he wouldn't even be able to attend the graduation exam. The bully was introduced as Ianti, a noob-type killer, with a psychopathic grin, wielding a shiny dagger, ready to take revenge on what he deemed a mere fraud. Meanwhile, the threat that awaited them was entwined, and intertwining, continuing its way home. Walking peacefully down the sidewalk and sipping on soda, trying to decipher her brother's strange behavior once again, she asked if he was stressed about the graduation exam. They continued with their jokes, teaching that someone as simple as him doesn't usually let himself get carried away by emotions. He listened with a sly smile, radiating contagious energy. She reminded him of his own motivational words he used to say to her, "Life is a long journey. Opportunities will arise sooner or later." To cheer him up even more, she started to sing a motivational song, shouting at the top of her lungs, "Believe in yourself." He was filled with thoughts about how insightful his sister was, remembering that she didn't know he had awoken and believed they were still facing financial troubles. So, he tried to reassure her with a small smile. Just as they were preparing to take a shortcut through the alley, she recalled something she had read about men tending to become more reserved with age. With a sarcastic smile, she said, "Whoa, little brother, you're starting to look like you're aging." And hidden with folders, Kiandi watched closely as Shin-chan and his sister ventured into the alley, just as they planned. The ambush was about to happen. One of the henchmen whispered to Chief Jin to warn him that the target wasn't alone. He brought a girl with him. That only spiced up the plan even more. Another henchman laughed, as if Alicia realized the alley was without cameras, letting out that today was her lucky day to spread violence. Then, without blinking, he relied on his sharp instincts, picking up a familiar and horrible smell in the air, and his expression turned to pure seriousness. Danger. It took him less than a second to identify that threat. The student council henchmen then sensed their presence hidden, waiting for the right moment to strike. With disdain, he reflected on Kiandi and his men's audacity to dare seek him out, completely ignoring who they were dealing with. Then, with the calm typical of a protagonist, he filled the pocket of his bag with a case of wireless earbuds. Everyone knows that your priority is to protect your sister from what is about to happen. So, with all the care in the world, he puts the headphones on Chiang-gim, creating a sound bubble that distances her from the chaos and impending violence that is about to occur. He comments that he has been enjoying a really great song lately and wants her to hear it too. The curious girl asks since when he likes music. She has never seen him listening to music, something totally new to her. With her eyes Closed, she surrenders to the melody, a well-worn smile on her face. She thinks that the music could reflect someone's state of mind. She decides to listen carefully to understand her brother better, unaware that this action is a shield to protect her innocence. The moment her sister immerses herself in her musical world, Shin-chan's expression changes completely as he notices, "You haven't liked the video yet. My brother is joking. It's almost over. Smash that like button and comment." Then, he turns around, his eyes shining an electric blue and threatening. There's also his crew of goons, guys of D-level, who advance confidently, unaware of the devastating power they are about to face. As the violence approaches, the camera focuses on Chiang-gim, lost in that music. The lyrics of the song float around her, creating a poetic and distressing contrast between violence and pop music. To the rhythm of the music that only Chiang-gim can hear, Kyandi charges in, attacking from Chiang-gim's unsuspecting back. A painful memory from his past life explodes in his mind. The year was 2160 when he lost the last member of his family and had to wait 7 years until 2167 to be reborn and see his sister again. Golden bolts of pure fury dance around him. His face contorts with rage as he thinks, "It's the first time in 7 years that I am with my family." And then, with a roar that bursts from the depths of his soul, he unleashes all his power. "How dare you ruin this moment, you bastard!" With everything he has, he lunges at them like a beast freshly released from its cage. The first punch is devastating. The blow is brutal. He hits the bully in the face, causing blood to spatter in the air, and the sound of bone shattering echoes through the alley. The bully, struck, flies like a rag doll, my brother, while his accomplice watches the scene, terrified. The scene pulls back to unite and remains alert, everything swaying to the rhythm of the music. The lyrics of the song about crumbling ruins ironically accompany the carnage. It moves at an absurdly fast pace, around in a golden aura, a blur of destruction that punches and kicks, shattering the gang with deadly efficiency. The screams of pain from the bullies are drowned out by the music in Kanjin's ears. One of them falls screaming, consumed by terror and pain, and an explosion of groundless violence is unleashed, my brother. A storm of punches is punch after punch against multiple enemies at the same time, a distribution of free blows and kicks too, complete with elbow blows that break bones and leave them on the brink of collapse. With each impact, that carnage transformed into a chaotic symphony of music and punches as the song's lyrics speak of a shooting star drying through the air, in the midst of that chaos, moving among his victims to continue his relentless fury. That storm of punches does not cease, no, groundless for a strike, holding his attacker's arm with tremendous force, my brother. Then, a swift and brutal move. He breaks the guy's arm, and my brother, it hurt here. Ah, are you crazy? The sound of the bone breaking echoes and the macabre symphony accompanies the lyrics of the song. A close-up shows the bully's bone protruding, graphically proving the power that rage distinguishes. Previously in chains, the bully screams in pain, poor thing. The scream fades in the alley, while the love song continues playing in the ears of that beautiful girl, creating a surreal and terrifying scene. Tinchin ends the bully with a devastating final blow, continuing his dance of destruction. The force of the impact sends him flying through the air, and the lyrics of the song resonate as a cruel irony. "I would give everything I have to protect that fragile star." That's exactly what he does. One of the last standing bullies watches the showdown with pure terror, unable to believe what he is seeing and wondering what kind of monster this boy is. His mind can't process how someone could be so strong. Meanwhile, Shinji has summoned that golden aura. He doesn't take a step back. His approach is methodical and devastating as well. Shinji weaves his way through his enemies, exterminating each one with lethal and precise strikes. He is a true whirlwind of justice and violence. Also, my friend, a protective demon who will leave no one standing. In the end, only Kyandi remains, the leader left for last, as if he were the last piece of meat about to be devoured. Now, he alone sees the fury of Shin-chan, surrounded by the bodies of his fallen men. The poor guy, pathetic in his last attempt to assert himself, shouts his title with pride. "I am the strongest cloud-type killer!" Blinded by rage and humiliation, he charges in yelling, You son of a bitch, think I can't beat you?" And the response is quick and knocks a tooth out. Our boy's answer comes with a punch filled with all his fury that hits Kyandi's head. Blood, my brother, flies and his knife shatters on the ground, useless. The force of the blow is so brutal that it lifts Kyandi off the ground, hurling him through the air like a feather. Poor thing. But Shin-chan is not done. He leaps towards Kyandi, preparing for the final blow, a definitive sentence for anyone who dared to threaten his peace and also his sister. Kyandi's face reflects terror, anticipation of pain. There it is. Oh, it's going to hurt a lot. He saw a grotesque close-up of his impending defeat. Then, with a crash, Shin-chan slams Kyandi against the ground, a blow that finally ends that confrontation. I think it was more more torture indeed. And with hints of humiliation, Kiandi is defeated on the ground, an inert mass of pain and humiliation. The outcome of Shinji's wrath will be exactly that, a crater in the asphalt with Kiandi's body at the center. The alley plunges into silence, except for the moans of the defeated. Ouch, 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 In that darkness, the silhouette of Zandim stands out against the light. His eyes burn with an intense red, a warning to anyone who dares to look at him. Standing over the unconscious body of Candy, Shin-chan holding the knife of his own enemy, recalling the warning he had already given, and I made it clear not to bother me again. The guy's eye was shining with such fury, coldly observing the defeated attacker, right? Then he said, looking at the guy, which part of this didn't you understand? Now I really think this guy learned his lesson, you know? I hope he learned. If he didn't, son, will there be a third time? I think not. I hope you liked the video. If you did, comment here, please give a like on the video, man. This video, for the love of God, and don't forget to comment down below as well. And as you know, if this video does well, there will be a part 2. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for the next video.